What's up, guys? Welcome to the we are in May 2022 YouTube show. Hope everybody's having a good weekend. So far, pretty good here. I've just been mowing the grass pretty much. Nothing too eventful. However, I'm actually quite enjoying my new tractor, so win some, you lose some. I usually don't like to mow the grass, but since getting this new tractor, it's made it a lot easier. So hopefully you guys are having as eventful, if not more, than me. So we are starting a little early like usual. Let me know how the audio and video is going. Usually like to take this time to make sure that there's no weird technical difficulties or anything like that. It looks like there's some folks in chat already, so please let me know if everything sounds all right. So the show officially starts in about 10 minutes, and that's when like the corals we will start going over them all. If you want to purchase anything, go to tidalgardens.com, and there is a tab up top just for the live sale itself. Okay, guys. Real quick, let's say some thank yous to the Patreon supporters and other things. Okay, real quick, on Patreon, thank you, Brandy Camp, Harkins Aquatics, Jeremy Altman, Alain Martinosi, Alan Jackson, Christopher Martin, Chuck Admire, Ernie Wallace, Greg Zimmerman, Jordan Marty, Keith Singer, Kyle Jameson, Lisa Clow, Matthew Lebrun, Michael Shelley, Puddle Aquatics, Rebecca Hall, Reef Infidel, Skylar Korn, Sue Hemmons, The Classroom Reef, Thomas Tarrant, Tim Garner, and Trevor Joseph Overbeck. And for the YouTube members, Herb777, Keith Holland, Justin Harden, Jay Place, 328 Reef, 2 Please Coral Reefs. And thank you to the corporate sponsor of this stream. It is Eccentric Marine. So you guys might be wondering, what the heck? Are you guys taking sponsorships now? And I would say kinda, sorta. We are, I guess like for the past, 10 years or so that I've been on YouTube, we really haven't done anything with so much with like corporate sponsors, mainly because we are primarily a kind of a coral husbandry channel, more so than kind of like an equipment manufacturer type channel. And also we were super protective of our voice, right? We didn't want to just be like, oh, they sold out, blah, blah, blah. But it's kind of getting to the point where we've used certain pieces of equipment and worked with certain companies now, going on like well over 10 years. And where it makes sense, we've decided to like talk to those companies about official sponsorship. So thank you very much, Eccentric Marine. Obviously, if you've seen any of our videos on the facility, we use a lot of their products. So no huge surprise there, or at least there shouldn't be, right? There may be some others in the future, but the list is going to be essentially companies that we've been purchasing their product for ages, we're super happy with, and we like the companies. That helps a lot too, when you actually like the people. So anyway, so thank you guys so much on the Patreon side, the YouTube member side, and Eccentric. We have something like 250 some odd corals for you guys. We're getting down to the summer months, and that kind of changes the appearance of some of the corals that are in the greenhouse. And it's kind of interesting to see how that relates to the corals that are now in this new building, because those tend to change less. You'll kind of see towards the end of the show is when you'll see the stuff that's from the new building. Most of the stuff at least the first couple hundred-ish are going to be from the greenhouse. No real big new announcements or anything like that. We are working on a bunch of different projects, and they're in various stages of completion. So I'm thinking maybe tomorrow I might film an update video. I'm not sure because I still have quite a bit that I'd like to actually work on, but we're getting really close to some bigger things getting done. So very happy about that. Okay, what do y'all have to say? Hello, hello. Sounds great, good. Glad I just didn't do all that talking for nothing. Let's see. Ackbots, can you make a video on the ideal water parameters that you like to see in your setups? I could. It's not that mystical though. Like I'm basically looking to do more or less natural seawater levels, something close to that. So yeah, it's nothing really all that special. Just stay in the pocket, right? Peter T, the French press is back. Yeah, I've been doing this kind of like a juice diet of sorts. I've been ordering in like fresh squeezed juice almost every day, and I also need to like pick back up on my water intake. What's up, Diacanthus and Harkins? Haven't seen you guys in a while. Or if you have been here, I must have missed it. But welcome back. Let's see, Kenneth Ward. Hey, what's up, Kenneth? Live sale time. Hello. Economical Reefer. Hello from sunny UK, London. Yeah, the time that I visited a few years ago, yeah, definitely didn't see any sun there. Kyle Jameson. Hope you guys in Ohio are enjoying your annual 3 months of nice weather. It depends on what you consider nice weather. I actually don't mind the winter. The summertime here is pretty brutal. Like it goes from winter where I'm wearing like full-on parka to it's 80 something degrees outside, which is like literally yesterday and today. It goes from 0 to 100 real quick. But I actually like the colder months more than I like the super hot months. However, I gotta say that since I got this ridiculous new tractor, doing like a lot of like the yard maintenance-y stuff that I typically didn't really enjoy in most of the summer times, it's gotten a lot easier because like this tractor I have has a canopy, and the canopy has like this fan that blows like cool air down on you. It's not bad. You stay out of the sun. Makes the whole thing a lot more manageable. It's like this like Tractor Time channel. Barely even talking about corals, or at least not yet. Good for you for getting sponsored. Yeah, I mean it's one of those things that like if it works out, we'll keep doing it. If it doesn't, eh. But no, like I said, it's all companies that should come as no surprise. It would be one thing, guys, if I took sponsorship from like let me think. Just like fill in the blank AliExpress lighting company. That would be weird, right? Because it's okay. You filled your place with the radions, and you're trying to sell us on Chinese black boxes. That would be a little weird. Or if I've been talking up Abyss pumps forever, and then all of a sudden it's like, you know what? I really like Shenzhen pump company that nobody's ever heard of, right? Like out of nowhere. But for the longest time, I was actually thinking about, like, you know what? If I was to ever do sponsorships, maybe I should do something completely unrelated to aquariums altogether. But I kind of thought against doing any of that because it detracts so much from the content. It's like, what am I really doing talking about like Raid Shadow Legends or Manscaped or whatever the heck right before I start launching into like talking about reef aquariums. Makes no sense. So I stayed away from taking all that Raid Shadow Legends money or that crypto money. I don't know. There until about last week, there was probably a lot of crypto money to be had, but I'm good. I'm good on that. Not that I don't like crypto, but let's just say Bitcoin and Ethereum are not paying up the ad revenue. Okay. It's coral time, 2 p.m. If there's anything to explain about how the show works, if you want to purchase anything, you go to tidalgardens.com. There's a live show tab. And there's actually like an FAQ that kind of explains how shipping works, how to go about just shopping for this stuff. Essentially, you put it all into your shopping cart, but you want to check out more frequently, especially during the show, because just throwing stuff into your shopping cart doesn't reserve the coral for you. You actually have to finish the checkout process for it to be yours. So do not make the mistake of waiting all 2-3 hours or however long we go and then try to check out at the very end. You will not get most of the stuff in your shopping cart if you do that. You might, but it's at high risk, let's just say. Don't do that. It's not good practice. Okay. Let's see. Where are we? So I'm curious of the parameters Tidal Gardens has. Well, it kind of just depends on system to system, but yeah, long story short, like the goal is to try to like get something closer to natural seawater levels. Alan, love my Vectra. We use a lot of Vectra here. Sure do. Jude Clark, hello from South Africa. When do you plan on international shipping? It's not looking great on international shipping. Shipping, import, export stuff, it's really a different business altogether. You become as much like a regulatory company as you do a coral farming company. There is a lot that goes into it. It's not just something like, let's send like a few corals to somebody. It's like, no, we need to like fill up planes, essentially. Like that's the volume that you have to be talking about. It's never going to be I want something for my tank. That'll probably never happen. Let's see, Mr. NO3. Than, I live in Cleveland. Can I come and look at corals before I buy them? Unfortunately, not right now. You cannot. We are not open to the public. You are able to pick up the corals that you purchase, but that's us bringing it to your car situation. Hopefully in the future, yes, but right now, definitely no. Hey Than, are milliporas more difficult than torts? No. How would you rate them on a scale of 1 to 10 in difficulty? So acros in general are going to be more difficult, but millipora are really not that bad as far as like acros go. I would say that there's like a handful of easier to keep acros, and millipora would be on that list. Dave, hey there. How do zoanthids get along with paleothoas? They get along just fine. J Refresher, how to purchase multiple corals with local pickup? Okay, so when you're checking out, there's a shipping method that is local pickup or adding to an existing order, which is $0. Select that, and afterwards, send us an email and say, hey, I got items or I got order numbers, blah 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 blah. I'd like to set up a time to come pick up. Alan, Pizza Hut sponsorship when? More like DeWalt. I want some of that delicious DeWalt money. I use a lot of their products too. And it's not that I'm saying like DeWalt is better than Milwaukee or Festool or whatever. They're just a battery system that I bought into. They are good enough quality. So I have a lot of DeWalt stuff, a lot of the black and yellow. But yes, I would love to get some out of out of the industry type endorsements, but they have to make some sense. What, it's again, uh, not doing the Raid Shadow Legends money, not here. Alan, a lot of those Chinese black box stuff, not bad for the money. Love my J bows. Here's the thing. I would absolutely agree that for most people, a lot of the Chinese black box stuff is just fine. There's plenty of like really inexpensive stuff on Amazon that'll work for you just great. But there's a reason why we went with stuff on an industrial scale. And in some of the thought process that goes into what we do doesn't always translate to an individual hobbyist. I totally get that. But the other thing is mainly I'm not taking Vipar Spectrum money because I have like literally two of their fixtures, right? Versus Ecotech Radion, where I probably have 200. I don't know. I don't even count. I mean, I know that on one like group of tanks we have 30 of their fixtures on just like one system of tanks. So I'm just saying, it's like I talked to the companies that I like. I happen to like those guys, and we use a ton of their product. So again, I don't use a ton of Vipar Spectra, but they're fine. They're fine. I mean, I'm not going to definitely not going to be here saying like, such and such lighting just simply doesn't work, because these days, it's not even a secret, right? Most lighting works. You have to work to find light that doesn't work. T5s work great. Metal halides work great. It's I think that you have to like find literally awful LEDs, and the number of great LEDs outnumbers the number of like garbage LEDs on the market. You have to try. How would you rate Euphilia on a scale of 1 to 10 in difficulty? Not that difficult. Usually the sort of thing that people struggle with when it comes to Euphilia is that occasionally, for some odd reason, they have a susceptibility to like bacterial infections and things like that. And if you're able to remove the colony and treat it for some bacterial issues, you might have better success. So you might run into difficulty if you've kind of like glued it into your rocks or something like that. But that's usually the issue that people have with it, because otherwise, when things are going good, hammers and frog spawn, they do very well. Scott, hello from Scotland. Hello. I would like to visit Scotland one of these days. I want to get out and travel in general. I've been a little stir crazy. Hey Than, been following your channel for a while. Great stuff. Hope you're having a great weekend. Thank you very much. You too as well. Kyle Jameson, DeWalt is better though. Fight me. So here's the thing. I'm like the least handy person ever, but I'm building out like a pretty nice little toolkit here. From what I understand, there's like companies that do really, really well in certain things, and other companies do really, really well in other things. And for me, it's more about just like having something fit into the battery system, because I don't really want to like have 5 different types of batteries out there. Courtney Jameson, any tips on getting Cyphastria to have luscious polyps like yours? I think that what's helping ours out quite a bit is to have like really steady water chemistry, not a lot of surprises, not a lot of like ups and downs, nothing too crazy nutrient wise. And then I think that also the feeding is helping them quite a lot. We've started to do, well, not started, but we've been feeding some of the powdered food quite a bit, and we've been feeding some amino acids mainly for Acropora, but I think that that's also translating to things like Cyphastria. My tank recently crashed due to temperature spike, and I did some water changes to reduce the foul smell. My parameters seem fine, but cyano's popping up. What do you think the cause of this is? Whenever you have like an insane like change in like water chemistry or just like the dynamics of the aquarium like that, it's a pretty much a free-for-all. So any number of things could be thrown out of whack. Your best bet would just to try to keep things more or less stable and just kind of like ride it out. So you want to keep going on your regular water changes. You might want to aggressively put in some carbon filtering, some chemical filtration in there, just to like stop the massive fluctuations of everything. And then from there, let the tank kind of catch up to where it's at. But for right now, I wouldn't do anything too exotic, like real basic. Water changes, constantly changing out activated carbon. That should probably help you out the most. And again, just try to get to something more steady. Okay. Harkins, support is a huge factor when it comes to commercial applications. Yes and no. I should make a video on this topic because so Ecotech in particular has like very good support. And I was wondering if it was a situation of, well, we're Tidal Gardens and maybe a company might treat us better because we're Tidal Gardens. And so I always kind of worry about saying just a broad case of, oh, so-and-so is like great at customer service. Because it's like, there's an entirely realistic possibility out there that I get different treatment, okay? However, there are plenty of companies that, even to me, do not have the same level of customer service. It's just what it is. So yes, service matters. The other aspect, though, is, and I think this is like what I would call kind of like the insurance mindset, because like Tidal Gardens has a business insurance policy, right? But we can't rely on a business insurance policy. Like there should have been 10 things that happened before we even call the insurance company. And that's kind of like how we approach our selection of technology as well. Because saying that, oh, well, so-and-so will take care of you if the pump fails. Cool. That's very, very good of them. But your pump just failed. Like either you have extra pumps on hand, or you simply invest in a more robust, more reliable pump. So you don't have to go as crazy as we did with the Biz, because at that price point, I mean, you could probably replace your whole, like a typical person's aquarium, you could probably replace the whole thing for the cost of an Abyss pump. In an industrial setting, obviously the math completely changes. But even in the industrial setting, I could have spent literally thousands of dollars less and got an Awaki pump. But there were reasons why I chose an Abyss and paid the premium over an Awaki even. So there's a lot that kind of goes into decision making when you're talking about things at the commercial scale. Things that make almost no sense when you're talking about for like an average reef hobbyist now kind of comes into play. Like, for example, we use Schedule 80. Do we use Schedule 80 for its pressure applications? No. I use Schedule 80 because people might run into it with a ladder. Things like that, you know. Okay, anyway, moving on. Hillbilly Reefer, are you going to upgrade to the Gen 6 Radions? I am not going to upgrade to the Gen 6 Radions. So it's kind of interesting, because kind of going back to the industrial versus hobbyist implementations of tech, right? There is an argument out there that the gold standard for coral farming lights is actually the Gen 4 Radion. Specifically the Gen 4 Radion Pro, I would say. Like here, you might get into some arguments about, like, well, we want more blue, whatever. But for photography, the Pro is way better than the blue. That aside, so if you want more blue, fine, blue. If you want more like photography and an overall spectrum, you might want to look at the Pros. But the reason why the Gen 4 in particular is nice is because of the spread. Now, the Gen 6 has like a bigger spread than the Gen 5, which is a bigger spread than the Gen 4. But that is anticipating that you guys are going to be hanging your lights about 6 inches off the water, like most people. But that is not what coral farms do. Coral farms want lighting that is 3-4 feet above the tank because you need to be in that tank all the time. And when you have like these lights that are kind of designed to be practically at water level, you're going to get magnificent spread. But when you're starting to talk about like the diminishing intensity when you start to raise the lights, it's like orders of magnitude dimmer the more spread you have. So a Gen 6 for us would not be very good. We hang our lights so high off the water that we would lose so much intensity, and most of that is just going to be light bleed that ends up on the ground. Or in the tank next to it, in whatever small capacity. Yeah, so some folks are talking about cyano. Cyano is a weird thing, because there's situations where we get cyano in very dirty tanks, or we get cyano in super clean tanks. It's one of those things that, it can be helped with some additional water flow. It can be helped by removing detritus, things like that. Obviously, you want your nutrient levels to be within some range of acceptability. I won't even say like what those numbers necessarily are, because there's plenty of good arguments to keep it non-zero. But something non-zero, nothing super high. If you're in that pocket with stability and with intention, you really shouldn't struggle too much with cyano. But if you are, then you might want to take like a more direct, more acute action to try to alleviate that. Cameron Smith, do you enjoy being an attorney? I enjoy not being an attorney. That'd be nice. I don't practice law at all. So I guess like the benefit of going to law school for me was that it really took away any and all anxiety that I had about getting sued ever. And also, like, you have a lot of friends now that are lawyers. And again, that goes back to the anxiety of legal action, just gonzo, like completely gone. Like, I just don't care. Harkins, I love that you're... Oh, sorry, I skipped a comment. Chapman Richardson, are you guys going to Reefapalooza, New York? I will be at Reefapalooza, New York. Now, we don't exhibit at the shows. That is all kinds of work that I'm not looking to do. So I will be there, basically as a guest. Yeah, I'll be a tourist. I'll say hi to some people there. Yeah, it'll be a good time. Harkins, I love that you're bringing a wide variety of uncommon corals. Yeah, we definitely have some oddballs mixed into the bunch. I would like to start expanding our collection just a little bit. We have a lot of corals, but there's a lot more that I'd like to get out there and acquire. It's been it seems like forever since I've like really been able to focus on like the coral shopping end of things. I think that for years now I've kind of pushed that onto my staff to the point where I didn't even I would just tell them, get whatever you want, just let me know how much the bill is going to be. Like they had full autonomy over like the shopping. But now there's like some things here and there that I'm looking to acquire, or at least see in person. Like there's a few corals that I'm pretty sure don't look like their pictures online, and that is always the risk, right? For example, there is an Anacropora. I don't remember what the name is, but it's like yellow and red. And from what I understand, the pictures online are not a very good representation. So I would like to see one in person before I go and get it. Samacora looks so much like Leptocerus. It is true. If it doesn't have the textbook jack-o'-lantern wrinkly texture, I'm assuming it's a Samacora. I wouldn't stress out too much about it, to be perfectly honest. This is one of those things where a lot of people are going to be getting it wrong, us included. And not only that, I think this is one of those areas that are so likely to get reclassified that don't stress. Because there are certain things that when we first started getting them, they were Samacora or even Pavona. And then now I see people are pushing them into like calling them a Leptocerus. But they're clearly not the same thing as that jack-o'-lantern or golden Leptocerus. Like they have a completely different texture, completely different polyp extension. So it could be like a weird species of Leptocerus, or it could be a weird species of Pavona that looks more like a Leptocerus. So there's like a big gray area there. What's the phrase? Like, not my clowns, not my circus, or something. It's like it's really not a huge thing for me. Let's see. I know that for you, sound is also a huge factor. Yeah, sound is. I am big on sound. Andrew Kramer, what cameras do you use? So this video is being shot by Canon C200. And for stills, Becca shoots with a Canon 5D SR, which is an older 50 megapixel studio camera. I would argue that there isn't a better camera than that one for us right now. Maybe you could argue that a Canon R5 might be a little bit better. You maybe could argue that a Fuji GFX 100 might be better. But for me to transition our photography workflow from a Canon to that Fuji would be like 14 grand. And I'm not even remotely certain if that's an upgrade. Like at some point, like investments in technology sometimes is just going to be different and not necessarily better. And we're kind of like pushing up against that. Alex, what do you think about hydrolights? I have no experience with them whatsoever. I haven't used an AI light, I think, in well over 10 years. Kaihan Moore, any experiences with Chemiclean? A long time ago, we used it to kill some cyano. It killed some cyano. It was fine. I mean, these days, I think that might be a little more aggressive than we're looking to do. But it was fine. You just have to make sure that you oxygenate your water, because a lot of those treatments, they deplete the oxygen in the water, and so you don't want to like suffocate your fish and stuff. Siam fish collections. If you had a chance again, what would you do differently with your current setup at the farm? Boy, that's a loaded question. There's a huge long laundry list. The real short list would be, I would want to have a different electrical service coming to me. So I would rather, instead of the 100-ish, 200-ish voltage, I would want the 200-ish, 400-ish voltage coming in, and then step it down to the 100, 200 level. I would like to have a lot more um, like conduit type stuff buried underground, going from place to place. I would. Those are the two big things. It's all infrastructure related. It has almost nothing to do with aquariums. I'm pretty happy with the aquariums. Harkins. I dose bacteria daily and have almost never seen any cyanide in my tanks. Yeah, I'll tell you, it's. I think people might underestimate the importance of having a really solid, like a solid ecosystem in general. I think a lot of times the struggles that people have just come from system immaturity or a system that got shocked somehow and that biological system kind of got thrown out of whack. So if you guys recall, I did a video a long time ago about like the ugly phase in the SPS tank. And I did it knowing full well that in no time it was going to clear right up to the point where there's going to be zero issues. And basically we've been at that state now for a while. Because all it takes is for the tank literally to figure itself out, and hair algae cannot grow. Can't do it. So yeah, in that entire 2,500 gallon system, you will not see like even a little bit of hair algae. And you might be wondering, like, what did you do? We did hardly anything. It took, I think we may have done some elbow grease literally 5 times in a year on that tank. And the rest of it was really just snails and microfauna. Brett Barrett, are you talking about goldenrod and acropora? Yes. Pictures always look great, but I've yet to see it in person. The pictures look whack. Like straight up. They look just off to me, so I didn't trust the pictures. If I saw a picture of it next to like 2 other ones that I am familiar with, then I would have like a much better idea. But if it's all by itself in what looks like really weird lighting, yeah, I'm gonna have to go ahead and see that in person. Graham, where are you shipping from? Ohio. Reconnaissance. I think the biggest draw to the hobby for me was the kind of freelance science that happens throughout the hobby. Yeah, I think that there is quite a lot of that. I think that there's degrees of it, right? We're not nearly as experimental as others, but I am glad that people are trying to experiment a little bit with things. There's what is funny though is that even when it comes to technique in this industry, it goes in waves. It comes like stuff comes in and out, like the tides. Because the new hotness right now is literally Kalkwasser. And the reason why I'm laughing, okay, is calc has been used for over 50 years in this hobby. And the fact that it's like talked about as like this in any way, shape, or form a new thing is like super hilarious. And I mean, I never really get too much into it, but I was having a conversation at Reefapalooza with some folks, and they were telling me all about all the drama about calc, and I'm like thinking, what could possibly be dramatic about calc? Because like we're talking about somebody, I mean that's like a garage door opener. Like what is remotely interesting about a garage door opener? It's been around for like since the '60s or whatever. And they were saying that like there's people now that are promoting calc and are, I guess, acting like they basically invented it, which is again hilarious because it's been around forever. But also, like, I'm just thinking, like, if they invented it, you know, devil's advocate here, why is it called Kalkwasser? Are they German? No. Did they just pull some random German word out of their butt and be like, oh, I totally invented that. That's totally me. It's like, no, it's silly. So anyway, yeah, so the new hotness right now is once again calc. And it should come as no surprise to anybody. Calc works. Calc is really good. The reason why we haven't used calc here is because it is not as idiot proof as some other things. And I have personally been that idiot before. So we are looking to do calc again, but only once we develop a system that protects our systems from potential idiocy. Anton Ta. Apparently you can propagate homophilia australis by cutting their bottom off. What do you think about this? I've done it once. Not intentionally. I think it came cut and it started growing from both sides. What do I think about it? If people can make it work, go crazy. That's not something that we're going to be doing here. It's tricky enough as is, and that stuff is so slow growing. Not my cup of tea. Dave's plantification. How do Galaxia do in high flow SPF tanks? Probably great. The problem might be Galaxia doing great might not be great for everything around it. Problem prone. Fan, are you growing out any rainbow slice acro? No. I'll get a piece of rainbow slice eventually. Right now the price tag on that is like really expensive. And it's nice, but I don't know how completely nuts I am about it. Having said that, I have spent quite a bit on a couple pieces lately, but I am more crazy about those. Yeah, I think that a lot of those hybridy looking corals like rainbow splice are going to be a lot more popular in the future. I think that's kind of like where the SPS acro market is kind of trending. They want that kind of that melted crayon look in their acros. Brett Barrett, I love your honesty. Agreed that the pictures look ridiculous on that specimen. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of suspicious photos, to be perfectly honest. And like, I think that our photos tend to be, I think, more on the boring side, and then we shoot 10K for a lot of our stuff, in addition to Actinic. Mainly because I don't really want to hear complaints about stuff not looking like whatever was pictured, because it's just I don't want my guys to have to deal with that. It's a huge waste of their time and energy too. So it's like it's probably way better to not make the sale than to like deal with like people whining about that. That's probably one of the only like criticisms that I'm just not hearing. Like, if somebody has a problem with it, it's like, no. Nah. Barking up the wrong tree here. Berlin method. When stocking a frag raceway system, how do you stock it with fish and inverts? Is it a fixed plan or when problems occur? If there's a plan, what is it? So for us, it's pretty simple. We just pick a lot of like the utilitarian stuff. So for example, we're looking at something to control algae, something to control like a lot of the invert populations, so things like wrasses, things like damsels, even some of like the really small stuff, so like mandarin dragonets always make the list. something for Aptasia. As much as like people want to keep Aptasia out of the tanks, I'm gonna go ahead and bet 999 times out of 1,000 that the Aptasia is gonna win that battle. So I like copper bands the most out of all the solutions for Aptasia. Copper bands are my number one. So things like that. That's the sort of stuff that kind of informs my decision making process. And there's levels to it. There's different types of herbivores that handle different types of algae differently. There's also like the hardiness factor. There's the what is the likelihood that this fish is going to jump factor, things like that. Oh, my chair's high. Okay. Lower it slightly. I was cutting off the top of my dome. Let's see. I missed some chat. Hold on. There's some good comments I missed. Harkins, I certainly put some elbow grease on that 250-gallon system. Yeah, you were one of like the 6 times that it happened. And now it never happens practically. Brett Barrett, I'm always grateful for your live shows. You do a great job of showing the corals off in many different spectrums of light. Thank you. I'm glad I kind of discovered doing that, because it's definitely it adds a new dimension too, just to seeing what everything looks like. Reef under the roof. Any secret tricks for a nice acropora polyp extension? Yeah, if you look at our last video, it kind of goes over how we've changed, or our success has changed, going from the greenhouse system to this new system. And one of the elements I think that plays the biggest part with polyp extension is feeding amino acids. That's helped out quite a lot. Barry Goss Sr. Switching from 2-part to calc is the only new hot thing. Buying a new dosing pump just for it. It's my only thing holding me back. Yeah, like we are in the process of setting up something similar. We want to use a dosing pump. We want to make it as easy as possible and as idiot-proof as possible. Like going back to that whole discussion about an industrial setting, you just have to like have everything super obvious, super labeled, get all the methodology, get everybody on the same page so that screw-ups don't happen. Because on a 2,500-gallon system full of coral, you cannot have screw-ups. You cannot accidentally chemical burn your entire system because somebody does not know what they're doing with calc. That sort of stuff. Because I've totally been that guy. That is speaking from experience. Sean Clark, any chance that you're going to post a follow-up to the ozone video? Yes, I will. I have got a little bit more experience with ozone, and I plan to talk more about that. Ozone's cool. I like it. Port Wolf, any decent information out there on deep water acropora? I'm looking into the difference in care requirements. This might be a question more for the acro heads than for me specifically, because when it comes to acros, we don't really treat them different from one another. We're just not that granular about it, because I think that some folks that have like an acro specific aquarium might be able to pick up on some details like that. For us in a coral farming setting, less so. And even though we have like an SPS tank that's mainly full of acros, it's tied in with like another whole bunch of other aquariums that don't have acros, that have something completely different. So it's not exactly like, I don't know if it translates. Like the experiences that we're having, I don't know if it translates. So we don't really go too hard on all these differences. I don't think I've ever seen a spam bot on the TG live show before. Interesting. I've had trolls before, but guys, there's currently, let's see, I don't know. We're looking at something like, I don't know, 90 concurrent viewers. Peak concurrent was like 130 something. I think on my banned list is over 200 people. So, over the years, yeah, people got thinned out. Okay, concurrent viewers is like, okay, so Google, their stuff is absolutely not telling me the truth. So it says it's about 140 people. I don't know. Infinite Reef, thoughts on the Orphix? They're nice. I just ordered 2 of the icons. Yes, I think you'll be very happy. One of my friends, he swears by them, and he has, I think, like 5 or 6 over his tank. It looks nice. Barry Goss Sr., going back to the calc discussion, ATL would burn out often due to the calc. Yeah, I probably wouldn't do it like an auto top off. Not exactly like an auto top off where it'll work, when the thing is like low. I would almost be like, okay, I know my general evaporation for the day, give or take, and if it's, let's say, 3 gallons, I'm just making up a number. For us, it might be like 10 or 20. We'll have like an actual peristaltic pump, like a Neptune dose or something like that, and we would just have it do that over the course of the day in really small amounts. And yeah, it might require maintenance, but I think that all of those types of peristaltic pumps do require maintenance. Alex G. Is running an airline from a protein skimmer to outside of a building worth the pH boost? I've seen a lot of people do it. I don't know how effective it really is. In theory, it should be good. I don't know. Yeah, so the pH thing is a concern on buildings that are kind of closed up. So the difference in pH is significant comparing the greenhouse to this building. If I wanted to, I could crank up the air exchange in this building to make up for the pH, but I would pay for it in electrical costs to deal with the heat outside. Because it turns out that the air conditioners cost quite a bit of money to run. So I would rather just kind of find a way to dose Kalkwasser and help boost the pH just a little bit. I would like to see the pH closer to 8.3. Currently it's closer to 8, 7.9 to 8. In the greenhouse, it's 8.3 all day. So, real quick in chat, I want to run a quick poll. Actually, okay, maybe I think I don't need to do I think I can just create a poll. All right, I'm going to ask a poll question. I've never done this feature before, but I saw it on somebody else's live stream, and I'm like, I want to try to do that rather than like doing it like a dummy. All right, the poll question is: have you ever used Kalkwasser before? Question mark. Yes, no. Ask your community. Okay. I'm curious to see how this poll goes. We'll leave that up for just a few minutes. Eric Dunn, I love that mug. Yeah, it's my what do you call it? It's like a French press, and since I got like the all-in-one like one-touch coffee maker thingy, I haven't made French press in forever because I started to get addicted to espresso-based coffee drinks, and once I did that, the French press just didn't taste good anymore to me. I know, first world problems. But so like once I kind of got more into that, I didn't exactly need the French press anymore, but it makes you drink a good, 30 something ounces. Okay. Brett says, got my pH to 8.1 pretty steady using airline to outside. Oh, that's pretty cool. The thing that I worry about with just like willy-nilly bringing in outside air in that way directly to your skimmer is if there's something crazy going on outside, like fertilizer or insecticides, or somebody's like burning leaves, you kind of are like, directly injecting that into your tank, which I don't exactly love. So maybe if there's some precautions around the intake that you could probably do, maybe some sort of like a carbon filtering of the air, maybe even a CO2 scrubber, because that's really also what you're looking to do, maybe. Yeah, but we'll see how dosing calc in the systems that we have here, how that'll go. I think I literally have all of the parts to do it. It's just a matter of actually doing it. Chaz Peoples, what is the best way to dose calc? That is up for debate. There are really, really, really easy ways to do it that are more susceptible to problems. There are really, really, really advanced, complicated ways to do it, which are susceptible to complexity failures. So it's hard to say what is the best. I can share with you that the easiest way to do it is to take like a 5-gallon container, mix all your calc in that, right? But I would put basically like a little valve dispenser plumbing thing onto the bottom of that, and then drip that super slowly into your sump. So you mix up the calc, let it fully settle out, make sure that the water is like fully saturated with the lime, I should say. And you want that little valve just above the layer where all that stuff settles down, because you don't want to dose the sediment. You want to dose just the water portion of Kalkwasser. And so when you open that up, just drip the clear stuff very slowly into your system. That's the easiest way to do it. The problem with that is sometimes you stir it up, it takes a really long time for that stuff to settle. And if you're not paying attention, you just open that thing up and all of a sudden you've milkshaked your tank. I know. That's happened before, let's just say. A more complicated system would be to actually have like pH monitoring inside the calc to make sure that it is at the correct concentration. Then you have it slowly dosed by peristaltic pump into your sump, into like a nice high flow area, and you have that do X amount of things per day. You can even get more complicated where it's like only if the pH is at such and such to such and such, so you don't go higher. You can add all kinds of complexity to it. I don't know which is exactly best. It's probably going to depend on what your system is like, what your process is like. Because overcomplicating certain things tends to not work out for some. Oversimplifying things could royally screw up too. Just saying. But yeah, we're going to be doing something kind of in the middle. Something with dosing pumps. Okay, I'm going to end this poll soon. So, end poll. Where'd it go? Okay, here we go. Got 52 votes. Yeah, it's pretty split. It's pretty split right there. Patrick Cogley, I follow the ACA aquacultures method. I just visited them when I was down there for Reefapalooza Orlando. I was only able to stay there for 45 minutes, unfortunately, because I had to like make sure that I got back to the airport because traffic, blah, blah, blah. Yes, and I saw their calc systems and stuff like that. I wish I was able to spend more time over there with Chris. Next time or something down the road, maybe, hopefully. Yeah, so the Herm 14 got success on 5 systems without calc. Cool. So the reason why some folks are gravitating to calc, especially on the scale of like a Tidal Gardens or an ACI or like a Top Shelf Aquatics, is because of the level of stony coral growth that we're looking to do, or just the scale of the systems themselves. And I can pretty much tell you that our calcium reactors are not keeping up with a 2,500 gallon system that is now effectively full of fast-growing stony corals. Now, we could, and by the way, we're using the largest hobbyist model of the Geo calcium reactor, which is a 12-inch by 18. They do make commercial models that is not on the menu that is modular and can get very large, and they're very cool. I might go with something like that in the future, but for right now, we are using the largest ones made for hobbyists. So we have to then supplement that with 2-part, and we're going through a lot of 2-part. So instead of kind of like struggling with an undersized calcium reactor and paying out the nose for 2-part, well, we're also topping off water, and we're topping off quite a bit of water. And if we can make up the gap in calcium and alkalinity and boost pH, it seems like calc is a very inexpensive and obvious solution for that. So that's kind of like why you're seeing it more on like the coral farming side of the thing, side of the equation. Now, would that same logic work for a hobbyist? Sure. Absolutely. You can definitely use a regular dosing pump, but you want to maintain the pump. Calc will build up in the peristaltic line. Yep, that makes sense. Fishbones Reef. I started and have a small setup. What are your thoughts on dosing all for reef? Is all a product that I'm unfamiliar with? I don't know the context of that question. Dosing in general is fine. Sean Williams, first stream, does he read the comments? All I do is read the comments. I almost like never actually talk about the corals behind me. Be the fountain, not the drain. What is up, Brandy Camp? Patreon superstar. What is up? Barry Goss Sr., I met you at the show, remember me? I vaguely remember faces. I'm worse about names. And I can't see your... I just see like a John Deere tractor as a thumbnail as your avatar. So I don't remember the name off the top of my head. And I'm assuming at the show you mean Reefapalooza. Or it could have been Aquashella the month before. Both in Orlando. Jordan M, have you seen a public aquarium from behind the scenes? Do they dose calc? Dude, okay. Let me tell you a little bit about behind the scenes at a public aquarium. Whatever it is that you're doing in your house is like light years ahead of what most public aquariums are doing. It's not even that close. I think that most public aquarium folks, like professional aquarists, would not fight me on that. I would say that like the vast majority of public aquariums, they're real basic. At best, they're real basic. Do they run calc? I don't know if they do anything. Like, they're whack. There's like a few out there that are like pretty good, but most of it is like room for improvement. Let's just say. Okay. Tropic Marine All for Reef is an all-in-one product. Gotcha. I have no idea how well that's gonna work. It's an all-in-one two-part. Okay. Yeah. I honestly I haven't used any product that Tropic Marine makes. I've heard it's pretty good stuff, but I have no experience. Is it supposed to be an all-in-one? Okay, blah blah blah, and some trace amounts. Okay, so my issue with like an all-in-one is I think that a lot of things react with one another. I think, and that would be my biggest concern is like how well that's formulated and how do you go about having all that stuff actually still be effective when it's all in the same bottle. There might be some witchcraft involved that where it does work, but you'll find out if it works or not. I mean, the reviews, I'm sure there's reviews somewhere. you were you were talking with Brandy. Shocker there. Yeah, this last show, so that would be Reefapalooza. Yep, I hung out with her quite a bit. Let's see. I have found Tropic Marine AFR, good grade for smaller tanks. Okay. Yeah, the marine biologists know how to grow corals because of hobbyists. The hobby is so much more advanced. That was one of the things. So, okay, I'm going to talk about like my posh experience at the Shed Aquarium fundraising gala. Okay, so I was invited there a few years back by like their chairman of the board, and like basically at dinner we were all talking, and he was like the big advocate of it because he was like saying like, guys. What they are doing in the reef aquarium world, like Tidal Gardens and just regular home hobbyists, what they are doing is like literally like multiple generations of technology ahead of what is happening in like the public aquarium space, and it's really true. Like there are ones of aquariums. Public aquariums with reef coral exhibits that I would consider even remotely nice. Like ones that I've ever seen. And I've been to dozens of public aquariums. Like when you look at their coral reef display, it's like most of them not great. There's like off the top of my head, of the ones that I've personally seen, there's one in Singapore that was very nice. There was one at Shed that was very nice. Then there's the Waikiki Aquarium in Hawaii that was very nice. There's not a lot of others that are good. Like, trying to think if there's any others that is really all about. No, the two best I've seen were probably Singapore and Hawaii. And there's a lot of others that are like just not, they're just sad. Like straight up, like most hobbyists could have done a better job, let's just say. Okay, Port Wolf, what's the subject about the perfect toaster? Okay, so there was like this thing that was online. It was just kind of like this thing that kind of just, maybe it went viral, but there's a whole bunch of people that started reviewing like the quote unquote most expensive toaster on the planet. And it was like this $300 to $500 toaster, depends on when you're buying it, I guess. Made in Japan. And it looks like a panini grill. And it's supposed to be making like the perfect toast. It only makes one slice at a time, but it makes like the crust, like 1 millimeter of perfect crust, and the inside is as if it was fresh baked. And what really drew me to it is not because I love toast. Toast is okay. But there was a channel called AVE. And this guy is like an engineer, and he takes stuff apart just to see how it works. And to take stuff apart and see where people cut cost on stuff. So he'll like take apart like a DeWalt drill and be like, look, they use like a crappy motor, you know, this really should be done better. And so he is usually like ultra sarcastic in his breakdowns. He took apart one of these toasters, right? It's made by Mitsubishi, only for the Japanese market. And he was just like, these people are insane. Like, they did stuff in this toaster that nobody would ever in a million years know about or care about. It'll never show up. Like, there's no way to even demonstrate that you've gone to this length on anything. And they did it anyway. Like, you would only know this if you took it all apart and knew what it is you were even looking at. Like, just like the circuitry that they chose was like research grade stuff. They had like circuit boards that was printed on both sides. So any way that you looked at this board, you would know what's on the other side of it. Like things like that. And so he was just like effusive in his praise of this toaster. So I'm like, that's exactly the sort of nonsense that I'm all about. So I bought this toaster, and sure enough, it makes very nice toast. So that's the toast story. Okay, so some conversation about the all-in-one stuff. Okay, let's see. More of a philosophical question. When you turn your passion into your job, does it suck all the fun out of it for you? Yeah, probably. So, I mean, at the same time, it's like, is it the business part of it that changes your view of the hobby, or is it the fact that I've been doing the hobby for 35 years? Like, would that have changed by itself over that length of time? I think the biggest things that changed for me, kind of going from like a business, like a hobby to a business. And usually my litmus test is, if I'm hiring people, it's not really a hobby anymore. It's basically a business now, right? So the sort of stuff that's really changed for me is the stuff that's like kind of quintessential to the hobby experience. I've done experience that for 30 something years. I don't ever need to do another water change in my whole life that would somehow affect my bona fides as a reef hobbyist. I guarantee I've done more water changes than everybody in chat put together. And I'm not even joking. Like, I've been doing this since I was 8 years old, and I'm almost dead now. Like, I'm good on water changes for the rest of my life. That is now just somebody else's literal job here, right? things like that. So it's certain like routine tasks and things like that that I've either automated away or hired out entirely. And so does that make the whole experience less hobby-like? I suppose, sure, but that is simply not an experience that I'm missing in my day-to-day life anymore. And I guess the thing that keeps things interesting for me is not necessarily like, oh, let's keep the animals alive and healthy, because most people at this level, at this time in the hobby, should be able to do a relatively good job. I'm not saying that every single animal in here is living its best life, but 99% of them probably are. But what is interesting is the small innovations that come along and seeing how to implement those. It's also the known things that really work well in this hobby, like Kalkwasser, and trying to find better ways to do it. Things like that interest me. So I've always been kind of like a systems and process guy. I'm much more interested in trying to like develop like what I would call like an infrastructure for success, and doing as much of that with technology as possible. So again, it's all about, again, a lot of the nuts and bolts behind putting together an advanced facility, not necessarily a show tank. So yeah, I guess the hobby has morphed for me, but my litmus test really is, it's not really a hobby anymore once you start hiring people. Be the fountain. I can't wait to try the toast. The toast delivers. Like, the toast is really good. I'm trying to like cut down on my carbs a little bit. You know, I got a little bit of that, you know, that little food baby look going on that I don't really be needing. But it's worth the carb splurge, let's just say. Is it as good a carb splurge as the gelato machine that we have here? No, the gelato is a lot better than the toast. So one of the girls here that was working here part time, it was like her last day on Thursday, so we made some vanilla gelato. It was so good because it was 80 degrees outside. It's been a long time since I've busted out the gelato. There's some perks to working here, no doubt. Yeah, I think Harkins. I don't exactly remember, but did you have some of the ice cream / gelato the last time? The last time that you visited here, you visited twice. So like the last time that you were able to visit. Okay. Do you think vegetables could be grown with old reef grade lights? Yeah, probably. Then again, you're asking somebody that doesn't do any growing of vegetables, so I could just be making that up. I'm guessing so. Douglas Campbell trying to get things together to try to farm corals here in Texas, trying to copy Tidal gardens in a very small scale. Go for it. Also, there's a lot of people farming corals in Texas. You know, pick their brain, because I think that a lot of the things that you might run into might be Texas specific. Sean Clark, did you get a 50 to 60 hertz inverter for your toaster or just plug it in? This toaster you cannot just plug in like that. So I did have to buy like this $100 little transformer that drops the voltage from 110 to 100 and fixes that phase issue. So yeah, you can't just plug it in and it'll blow up the toaster, from what I heard. Yeah, Harkins says, I've done over 5,000 water changes, and I can agree. Also, Harkins, if somebody pays you to do this, that's not a hobby either. Be the fountain, not a drain. There's a gelato machine. There's a lot more than just a gelato machine here. There's stuff that I don't exactly talk about because it's like, It's a little over the top. At some point, I'll make this promise to you guys. So you can clip this, and you can hold me to this, okay? At some point, I will walk you through the really eccentric nonsense that I've done in this building that I just simply don't even talk about. Like you may have heard like little tidbits here and there, like the coffee machine, like the gelato machine, like the toaster. As with anything, there are levels to this game, and there's some stuff I just didn't feel like talking about because it's a little over the top. In the future, we'll get into it, okay? Okay, Port Wolf. Dan, now we just need to find the perfect French toast maker. Funny you mention that. The perfect toaster has a French toast setting. I'm just not a French toast guy, so I haven't used it. But there's this other setting that they have. It's called topping toast, where you can put like cheese and meats and stuff like that on top of the toast, and it'll perfectly melt the cheese, perfectly crisp like whatever meats you put on top of it, and the bottom of the toast is perfectly brown, but only like 1 millimeter, and the toast itself is like fresh baked bread. Yeah. Now all of you guys are gonna leave the live stream and start cooking up some grilled cheese or some paninis and stuff like that now that I'm talking about all this. But yeah, that's the kind of nonsense that we get into here. Harkins, the coffee maker's insane as well. No gelato for me, but it was about 45 outside the last time that I was there. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, if you get paid to do it, you're a professional. Yeah. Yeah. So I did see a coral today on IG for the first time. Mausolea, very beautiful. Yeah, that's not a particularly common coral you see. I think it's like things like Mausolea and like fox corals are those things that are probably not actually uncommon in reefs and stuff. Is that they're just uncommon in this hobby because for whatever reason they're not really desirable. Who knows? It might be the next big thing one day. Is there a pinball machine? There is not. There is not. How do you spell bougie? That's what it is. Bougie. It's supposed to be like a spin-off of bourgeois, I believe. Brett Barrett, bet Dan did not know he was going to sell us all toasters today. Yeah, guys, look it up. Actually, look up the videos. Don't just like take my word for it. Like take other people's take on this. Because there's like one video I saw was like a couple of chefs, and they were just like they just wanted to do this for the novelty of their YouTube channel. And one guy was like straight up like, look, I wanted to hate this product because of the utter ridiculousness of like a $400 toaster, let's just say. And he was just like, I can't. Not only can I not hate on this thing, I'm in love with this thing. It's like I don't even know how they can just take regular bread that's dry and it comes out perfectly crisp yet like fluffy and moist on the inside. Like it was regular bread. Where did all of this water come from? It was hilarious. But it's true. It's true. Dan, I bet there's even heated toilet seats, etc. that you don't talk about. I forgot about that. There are some advanced toiletry options here. Yeah. The bathrooms here are very nice. Very, very nice. So not too many folks get to, unfortunately, I get it. A lot of people would like to come and shop here. Unfortunately, that's not a thing right this second. But I don't see too many people complaining about the bathroom back when we did let people come and visit. Who knew there was such a crossover between reefing and toasting? It's okay. So here is like the analog. that I would say, the analogy, it's not an analogy, it's an analog, about reef and toast, okay? The toaster, that's in a biz, okay? Is it really necessary to go that crazy? In an industrial setting, yes. When it really matters, when that toast absolutely has to deliver, you pay that a biz money and you get that toaster. You get that handcrafted in Germany or Japan piece of engineering that spared no expense. What's the perfect material for this? Is it 10 times more expensive than the comparable material? Yes, then let's do it. Would stainless steel have worked? Sure. What are we going to use? Titanium. Even though it's way more difficult to work with, blah 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 blah, and machine and all that fun stuff. We're using titanium. Like, that's a biz. That's what this toaster is. You could spend $10 and get a toaster and it would work. You can find a $10 pump out there and it'll work. But when you want to be eccentric, you know who to call. They should be paying you at this point. I've heard you talk about it so many times. They should. Mitsubishi needs to give me some money. I need to get that Mitsubishi bag. Dillian Simpson, hey man, love you guys. Move me up to Ohio, work for you till I die. That's funny. Also, it's funny that it's a play on words because there's a rapper that from the Cleveland area. His name is Machine Gun Kelly, and his like ode to Cleveland is a song called "Till I Die." Just thought I'd let you guys know, in case you ever wanted to listen to like second tier rap artists. I don't know if you guys are like rap fans out there. An example to me of a first tier rap artist is Harry Mack. Look him up, you will not be disappointed. Okay, what's your opinion on fleece rollers? Douglas Campbell. Okay, cool. I have never used one. I don't think that they've made a big enough one to work for what I do here. However, we do have some smaller systems like on like in our quarantines and stuff like that. And I think a smaller unit we might experiment with one of these days. But right as of this moment, we haven't messed with it. We've just been doing the filter sock thing. Sean Clark, I have one. I thought I was alone in my insanity. Are we talking about an Abyss or are we talking about the toaster? Either way. Yeah, the next sponsor for TG is Mitsubishi. Yeah, it's gonna be Ecotech and Mitsubishi. Hey man, I will take that. I will take that Mitsubishi money. They made a great product. They are amazing toilets. Yes, yes they are. M diss track on MKG sent him to punk rock and country music too. Don't forget that. Don't forget that. Sean Clark, you can't spend $10 on a toast anymore. Incorrect. Here, I'm gonna pull up on Facebook Marketplace. I'm gonna look up where's the marketplace at. I don't know how to use Facebook, guys. Because I'm not a boomer. All right, toaster. $10. Yep. Yep. I think that there's more $10 toasters here than there's any other price. So I got you. It might catch on fire, but I don't know. Let's see. How many gallons an hour do you need on a fleece roller? Dude, I don't know. So that was one of the things. Like, we use return pumps that are like Ecotech L2s, and Abyss A400s. When you look at like the flow through rates of those things, there's no fleece roller on the market that's good for that. So maybe when they make bigger ones, but like I said, I might experiment with some smaller ones on the smaller tanks, but just not yet. Douglas Campbell, I doubt you remember me, but I met you at the at Aquashella in Dallas. I'm really bad about the names. I'm better about faces, less so good about names. But it's very nice to meet you, nonetheless. Wes, what's the name of the toaster? It is the Mitsubishi. Just look up Mitsubishi toaster or most expensive toaster. Mitsubishi toaster. I think it's something corny like TOST-1 or something stupid. Okay. It is TO-ST1-T. It's toast. It's corny. But trust me, it's really, really good. There's like no English anywhere on the machine, I don't think. And don't forget you have to buy the transformer as well. The cheapest price I've seen was like $300, something like that. Okay. Frontiers fish. What's the difference between Passalopora and Stylophora? It's really hard to explain the difference. It's like explaining a joke. It's like once you explain it, it's like not funny or something. Like when it comes to like Passalopora and Stylophora, when I talk about the actual differences, it doesn't sound like anything. It's kind of like a you know it when you see it sort of thing. They are very, very, very similar in appearance. I would say that the Stylophora tends to look a little bit more uniform and fluffy versus a Passalopora. They're really close. But when you've seen them enough, they look starkly different. It just comes with experience, but like I said, very similar. Daniel, I got some Monteporas 2 weeks ago, but they're not doing well. Have T5 with around 130 par, alk 9, calcium 400, nitrates 3, phosphate. Is par too low? Par's probably not too low. You could go higher with it, but if they're not doing well, I would worry that something else is upsetting them. I would start to check for pests that might be eating them. I would look to see if there isn't some weird chemical thing going on. I would even consider being proactive and running extra carbon or something like that and doing an extra water change or two. Monteporas, when they get upset, it's always a weird time because it's one of those corals that should really not be upset in a number of different situations. And when you show like your core chemistry is pretty on point, yeah, something's actually wrong. So it's going to be something. It's going to be something weird. So you kind of have to like think out of the box as to what might be that problem. I will, man. I've looked up to you for so long and glad you caught that reference till I die since he's from Ohio. Yeah. Hilarious. Okay. Okay, I'm a huge fish nerd. I'm sorry, catching up on chat here. To study again, that's from truly are. I just like trade name mostly do like. Okay, so Brett Barrett. Let me see if I can. I'm gonna grab this thing real quick. So guys, this was actually a thing from Jake Adams because I was talking to him because he's really more about like the actual coral names, like him and the dude from ACI, Chris Meckley. Like they are like big time when it comes to like coral identification and just trying to stay up to date on taxonomy. So Jake recommended this book. It's Indo-Pacific. Look at me selling all this stuff, right? Since when did I become such a salesperson? So I got this on Amazon. The author is Joe Rowlett, Joe. Like I needed to spell Joe for you guys. Rowlett, Rowlett. And it was published in like fairly recently here, 2000. So the published date on this can't be right because it says it's March 2022. That might just be like the printing date because that's like, okay, copyright 2020 makes more sense. Okay, so this guy here has a ton of different corals, and it is the most up-to-date reference that I've come across in book form. So when I ever have like questions on what something might be, I refer to this book now. Now, the issue that you might run into with this is that these are all images taken from the wild, and there are certain corals that definitely look different in captivity once they get into like, reef aquarist conditions, specifically when it comes to feeding and things like that. Like there's certain corals that for us look way, in my opinion, better than they do in the wild. So for example, like Australophilia wilsoni, for us almost look like trachees because of how much we feed them, things like that. But anyway, if you're interested in coral ID and stuff like that are not like, the electric Oompa Loompas and stuff, this was like something that was recommended to me by somebody who cares. All right, so anyway. Catch up real quick with the chat. All right. The Dreambox filter roller could handle it. Okay, Germany. Yeah, I struggle a little bit when it comes to like Royal Exclusive. It's like there's certain things that are just difficult to get, and like shipping is whack. Excuse me. The one thing that does make a biz easier to handle is that like I'm in closer contact with the folks at CoralView, who they're like the main importer of the biz in the States, and so like stuff is like more readily available when I need it. Because the couple times that I wanted to get something, it was like nuts. I think it was like the product itself was very expensive, but then like the shipping was like $1,000. I'm like, nope, that's the deal killer right there. That's not happening. It might have been more than 1,000. It was a while ago that I even had that conversation. I was like, it was a lot. It was a deal killing amount of money for shipping. Fan, the reason I asked you was MRC makes a 5,000 gallon an hour filter roller. Then Sea Visions has a vertical CAD that self-cleans, that runs 50 gallons a minute using a 50 micron wheel. Oh yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so I one of these days I'm gonna try some stuff from MRC. So I've met one of the owners, very nice, and we've been talking back and forth. And I warned him in advance. I was like, dude, everything takes a million years here. I was like, I want to place an order with you guys one of these days. I don't have any idea when that might be. I have no remote clue as to when that might be. And he's like, dude, don't worry about it. I work with public aquariums all the time, and they are never on schedule. They take forever to make these purchase decisions, and I'm like, cool. So we're on the same page. It's like, I definitely want to try some of your skimmers and things like that. I don't know what year it's gonna be, but it's in the process. It's in my mental process. Brett Baird, when is your podcast dropping, Than? I'm sure you have plenty of spare time, right? Okay, so here's the thing. I probably do have the time. It's like it's the energy more than anything else. Like so I kind of designed this work environment to be such that like when it's not time to work, everybody goes the hell home. There's a lot of other places, no names, where it's pretty breakneck, and I think that causes like a lot of burnout. And I don't really love the whole trying to like hire people thing and interviewing people and giving people tryouts and all that fun stuff. It's not really my cup of tea. So the folks that work out here, I like to just kind of like make it easier for them and, you know, have less turnover if at all possible. So, but no, some places, yeah, definitely like red line everything all the time, and lo and behold, they have staffing issues. So no, I actually do have the spare time to do something like that, but I really cherish the opportunity to do nothing whenever possible. I love that. It's like, for me to do something that's not nothing, it better involve a plane ticket to Singapore. So a podcast is under that, but we'll see. We'll see. I bet, honestly, right now, the thing that would concern me about doing a podcast more than anything is I need to figure out how to fix the phase difference that you get from two microphones. I know it's out there that everybody else has done this quite successfully, that I should be able to do this, but I don't know how to do this off the top of my head. When you have two microphones that are separated by about like 5-10 feet, they could get crosstalk and it sounds like sounds bad. So I need to like figure out how to like get around that. I know it's probably very easy. I just haven't done it. Did you know that Pagoda Cup turbine areas are actually Duncan's? I could see that. B. I liken coral names to dog breed names. Some mean something, some may not, but everyone pictures the same thing when you say AOI Zoa. Yeah, like if I said a radioactive dragoneye, y'all know what I'm talking about. If I start describing green zoas to you, not as good. Not as good. A plane ticket to Singapore to do nothing. Not entirely wrong. No, Singapore's dope. I would love to visit again when they let swine like me back in. Yeah. Okay, real quick, I need to use the bathroom. It turns out that, you know, like drinking what looks like 20 ounces of this is adding up. Be right back. And I'm back. in the bathroom, I was thinking, TMI, I was thinking about another poll here. So I was kind of curious. We did a poll earlier where I asked about an old technology to see if you guys have tried it. So I'm going to ask about a newer technology to see what your adoption rate on this might be. So have you tried a filter roller on your tank? Question mark. Go, go. Yeah, there's like a lot of places that I'm looking to try to visit. Like my travel schedule for the rest of this year so far is not super dense. Like I'm going to be going to New York for Reeferpalooza. I'm going to be going to Milwaukee for MACNA later this year. And I think I'm going to be visiting a friend in Arizona. So that'll be kind of like an actual vacation, not like a convention vacation. Real quick, Harkins, you might be butt banning people. So Chris C may have taken some collateral damage. Sorry, Chris C. Unless I'm missing something. Yeah. So like once one other time, Harkins has accidentally butt banned somebody. So apologies. So if you can get Chris C out of the shadow realm, that might be good. Let's see. I want a filter roller, but I have 4 tanks connected to one sump. Don't know how that would work. Well, actually, that would work pretty easily. All you would have to do is have a chamber where all of that water gets, well, it depends on how all that water comes into the sump. But that would be, okay. Okay. Harkins is still butt silencing people. I'm gonna have to do something real quick. I wish I knew how to do this stuff. I'm trying to like make it so he can't do that. Harkins, what the hell? So sorry, Anton Ta. You took some collateral damage too. Let's see. That's why there are 200 people on the ban list. Actually, no, they all got it for. See, here's the thing. Like when Harkins accidentally, like, I think he accidentally like times people out for like 300 seconds or whatever, okay? For the longest time, guys, I've been doing this for about like 6 years or something. Like you can look back at and see every single live show that we've ever done, okay? When I ban people, I very specifically said, look, there are no warnings, there's no 3 strikes and you're out stuff, and there's no forgiveness. Like, the dead stay dead. Like, if you get banned off of this stream, you're never coming back. So, yeah. I had like a 0 tolerance policy, and especially with the trolls. Like early on, people didn't really understand like how to behave and stuff. So it's like, oh, we're gonna troll this live stream. No, you're not. So early on, I had to explain to the trolls, I enjoy banning you more than you enjoy trolling me. So a lot of them just like stacked on up, and they're all gone now. And so it's hilarious because there's like people that I've banned that are like actual industry stores, like straight up like the official account of such and such store, and it's like, yep, you're in the shadow realm. So that's kind of funny. We've also banned like the KKK, we've banned like ISIS, all kinds of fun stuff. Yeah, we go way back. Okay. Anyway, hopefully those guys get either unbanned or 300 seconds. So B, here's the thing. After decades of playing WoW, the troll comments are just invisible to me. It's different. So I am a fellow former, well, I don't know if you still play, but I'm a former WoW player. I pretty much stopped after like Burning Crusade era, so I haven't played in a really long time. There's a cultural understanding in WoW for that. And I'm not actually completely proud to say this, but there is no other way to describe me back playing WoW than absolutely toxic. And yeah, like I was straight up abusive. So I don't ever want to like go back to that. But yeah, there was like a different tolerance for that. For this community, there's 0 tolerance for that. Like, there's no way that what would have gone on in World of Warcraft chat would ever, or gamer chat in general, is not happening on this channel. Absolutely not. I can't undelete them. No one was banned. Sorry so much. No worries. No worries. It happens. That's funny. So every now and again, when I just start to see like what did he say that he got timed out for? It's like the guy was like just saying I agree or something like that. I'm like, oh, okay, I see what's happening now. Okay. Ricardo Garcia, hi Than, greetings from Mexico. What is up? Oh, what is WoW? WoW is World of Warcraft. I guess it still is, right? It's still active. It's a massively multiplayer online game, arguably the biggest. So see, so Twitch wasn't around when I was like a hardcore gamer. So going back to that whole thing of like how I need more energy, there was a time when I would wake up at like 5 in the morning, go to the gym, go work a full-time job, take a short break after the full-time job to do law school in the evening, and then some way, somehow play about 40 hours a week of World of Warcraft. And like that was like a Tuesday. And literally I would remember certain days where I felt like something happened a week ago, but it didn't happen a week ago. It was literally still the same day. I had the energy to do stuff like that, and I definitely don't anymore. Let's see. Trying to catch up on chat, guys. Sorry. Dan wants a safe space. You know, I don't even know if that's it. Like, I think that it was more along the lines of, for your trolling efforts to be worth it, you have to be so damn funny, and nobody is. Like, nobody really rises to that level. So yeah, these amateur comedians are just not. They're just not good enough. So they all got the boot. Because, like, again, going back to like the 40 hours a week for a really long time of World of Warcraft, you're definitely not going to hurt my feelings. And I was probably one of the worst people to come across. Like, not a pleasant person playing the online video games. So no, it's not like, oh, you know, like a precious, delicate, you know, flower. No, it wasn't like that at all. It's really that, you guys, you're not good enough to be trolls on this channel. If you're like a professional comedian, maybe, but they weren't. And so unfortunately, I wish that like Twitch was around. Maybe it's bad for you guys, but if Twitch was around, I would have been like a Twitch streamer, and probably a pretty good one. But no Twitch. I didn't get to monetize my World of Warcraft experience. Would you ever consider doing these streams on Twitch? Their live notifications work better than YouTube, in my opinion. Mayhaps. Maybe there's a category for it now. I actually have a Twitch channel. Like, it's Tidal Gardens, but I haven't ever done any streaming on that. There might even be a way to like simultaneously stream YouTube, maybe even Facebook and Twitch all at the same time. But I haven't messed with Twitch, and I think that Twitch is probably light years ahead of YouTube Live. I don't know, dude. I should have figured it out. I didn't. Harkins like, I was drying my car, needed both hands. Oh man. Whoever's in charge of coral species names should switch the names of this. So you know what? I don't know who's in charge of the coral species names. Like, I don't know like what sets precedent at all in that. Like, it's like, oh, this has been reclassified. It's like, said who? Said who exactly? Because clearly they were wrong before. Just saying. Because that's the other thing. Like, corals are not well researched. It's not like dogs, right? There's not a lot of coral research activity. There is coral research activity, certainly not a lot of it. So there's that. Okay. Let's see. Boom. It's been a while. That felt good. That felt good. So you know what's funny is that, like, there's that, so we got that spam channel that popped back up for the adult dating site thing. They got like double tapped. I think that like basically Diacanthus and me were racing to ban them, and I think both bans went through. Oh man. Yeah, so they're in the Shadow Realm now forever until they come back with another thing, and then it'll happen again. Twitch would be awesome. I'm surprised more people don't use it. Dude, you know, Twitch has its own culture. I'm just not too hip for it. I used to be like a big Twitch person, like a consumer of the content, but less so these days. By the way, the results of the poll was, I think, massively no. People have not adopted filter rollers yet. Should not come as much of a surprise. Yep. So all three moderators went after that. Went after that bot. Funny. Okay, so it looks like we got about a half hour left in the stream here. We're going to about, I think, right around 2:50-ish. So again, thank you guys so much for attending. You know what? Let me take the time real fast. I'm gonna say my thank yous. Okay, real quick. In chat here, be the fountain, not the drain. Brandy Camp, thank you. Harkins, thank you. Jeremy Altman, Elaine Martinassi. I think I pronounce his name different every single stream, multiple times per stream. Alan Jackson, Christopher Martin, Chuck and Meyer, Ernie Wallace, Greg Zimmerman, Jordan Marty, Keith Singer, Kyle Jameson, who I have seen in chat before, Lisa Clow, Matthew LeBron, Michael Shelley, Puddle Aquatics, Rebecca Hall, Reef Infidel, Skylar Korn, Sue Hemmons, The Classroom Reef, Thomas Tarrant, Tim Garner, and Trevor Joseph Overbeck. So thank you guys on the Patreon side. Thank you, Herb777, Keith Holland, Justin Harden, Jay Place, 328 Reef, and 2 Please Coral Reefs on the YouTube member side. And thanks to the corporate sponsor, Ecotech Marine. What is up, you guys? So, I should actually probably put on, the actual like Ecotech logo and all that. I think you guys have seen it, and they're probably like thinking, boy, I thought we were working with like a professional here. Shouldn't he at least put our logo up there? I would do it, but it would look really jank as I look up a Google Images thing and slap it onto my stream. So we're not going to do that just yet. Okay. Is Stylophora pronounced Stylophora or Stylophora? Okay, you know what? That's a good thing to make a poll about. I'm going off on the polls. Copy paste. So this is something that we've done kind of like little straw poll things before when it comes to like pronunciation. Different communities pronounce it differently. So I'm not that curious because I kind of know how this is going to end up. But I know that like certain pockets of people that work with corals, it's kind of like an echo chamber, and so they would say, so I would call an acro like this solar flare millipora. I'd call it an acropora. Duh. Of course it's an acropora. But there's an entire segment out there that's like, by the way, I guess my things didn't make any sense, right? Hold on. Let me try that poll again, because clearly I can't do this correctly here. Okay, I'm gonna do this again. Yes, no, what? All right, so I'm gonna do Stylophora or Stylophora. Okay, I can't take out the yes and no's. All right. What? Okay. Well, now I'll be interested to see the results of that poll. Ugh. Okay. given the 4 options on that poll, good luck. I'm sure this is very polished data that we're about to get from this poll. So anyway, I don't know if I even finished my thought. Is it Acropora or is it Acropora? Yeah. By the way, there has to be a way to like remove the yes and no from the YouTube poll, right? Right? One would think. I don't know. We'll see. One of these days, I'll figure it out. So I'm trying to think, is there anything interesting going on? Yeah, I guess so. We're marching closer and closer and closer to getting this next set of tanks up and running. It's this 2,500 gallon system that we've been working on for like months, it seems. And it's still probably going to be a work in progress for at least a month or two longer. But we got the sump. So theoretically, we should be able to finish plumbing, but we can't because we're waiting on the 2-inch platform that the sump sits on to keep it off the floor. And we want to keep it off the floor just in case that we're using some kind of like thing on the floor so it doesn't interact with the acrylic of the sump, just in case, right? We don't want to like accidentally melt our sump and cause a flood. So we're waiting on the platform for the sump. Then we get to wait for the plumbers to finish the 2 to 3 days of plumbing that they have left to do. Then we can get water flowing through the system. Now, I think the only thing that we would have left after that would then to be to put together like the floating canopies that go overhead and install all the lighting. It will probably come as no surprise that we're going to be doing some Ecotech Radions, but we don't have them in hand just yet, and I need like 50 fixtures. So that will be a fun little thing, because just building the canopies and everything like that, that's gonna be a little bit of a project. I think it'll be cool. Like once it's all done though, because I kind of don't want to do work in progress type videos, because until it's done, people just don't get it. But once it is done, they're like, oh, okay, that's pretty neat. So I kind of like to wait till it's all done and then kind of like do the here's how we got there, because that's kind of more kind of like a more rewarding like viewing experience, and it kind of like stems the it doesn't look like it's anything sort of comments, because it's like it's not done, dummies. Yeah, so anyway, we do have that going on. We're going to be doing a pretty cool upgrade to this studio that you guys really haven't seen a whole lot of. I think that you guys may have seen little bits and pieces of it in construction, but you really haven't seen what it looks like now. It's a pretty cool space, I gotta say. Greg Reefboy, have you decided to do private visits yet? Not just yet. It's partly because of COVID. It's more because this place is a little bit of a construction zone, and frankly is a safety liability that I don't want touching my general business insurance. It's like, because what if somebody slips and falls? Could totes happen. There's literally pipe sitting on the ground. So, you know, it's going to take a little while. Let's see. Port Wolf. Can't make out of aluminum like you did the tank stands. Don't know what you're asking, but so what we did was we went with aluminum T-slot type stuff from Alufab. There's several other companies that do it, like Framing Tech is another company. 80/20, something or the other. They do stuff. You can go a number of different ways. We went with Alufab because they're in Ohio. Go Ohio. But there's a lot of other options that you can go with. Like some people like welded steel stands. Those are like perfectly good. Depends on what you want to do. I'd say that the vast majority of everybody just uses wood, and that's fine. I've had a couple of bad experiences with wood, and so I'm obviously a lot happier with aluminum. Aluminum is probably not in everyone's budget, though. It's the most expensive option, but I would equate it to extremely high-end like furniture grade stand, though, made of wood. Because if you want like a custom furniture grade stand, that stuff is real pricey also, thousands of dollars. So once you're in that price point, you can either go like hyper industrial like we did with aluminum, or you could go with like super high end like library finished wood cabinetry. It's another one. Who's gonna get them first? Me. Okay. I was talking about sump for floor clearance. Oh, okay, no. So this thing is only like a 2-inch thing. It's like it's plastic. So yeah. So and also you want to keep the stand very close to the ground, the sump, because your drainage can't really come up that high, things like that. So for that, it's just going to be like really like low profile. It's harder on the phone than on the computer. That's funny. Yeah, I should always be the fastest on that, right? This might be the last coral, assuming that it is. Guys, thank you so much for attending the show. These corals will be available on the website for sale for a few days more. So if you missed it and you need to go back and watch it again, or if you just said, you know what, I don't need to watch all this, I just want to shop from the site, that's cool. There's thumbnails for all of these guys. You can, like I said, to actually get it, you need to fully check out, not just have it in your shopping cart. Shipping, flat rate, $29.99, and it's free after $2.50. If you accidentally paid for shipping multiple times, don't worry. We'll take care of all that once we're actually putting together your packing slip and stuff like that. We will send out all those refunds. If you are super concerned about that, feel free to send us an email. But we're usually pretty good about keeping track of that stuff. But that is it, y'all. Thank you so much for hanging out, and I will see you all next time. Where is my control panel? Awkward. Happy reefing, guys. See you later.